Okay, welcome to the February 3rd planning board meeting. Before we start, I'd like to welcome Colleen Lutz and Phil Hack as new alternates to the board, and Paul Irving for moving up to one of the term spots.
Yeah, where's she?
Yeah, where's
Actually, I Zoom. Zoom. Yeah.
Oh.
And I would also like to thank Dennis Ziegler officially for 37 plus years on planning board. All right, moving right along. Approval of previous minutes.
The revised? ones?
Revised,
Yeah. Yes, motion.
Motion made, second,
Second.
all in favor, aye, opposed, carried. Jay, any correspondence other than, our normal?
Other than the normal correspondence, the 239 for Uxa was sent to the county. I'm not sure when the next meeting is, and that's all.
Okay, then we will council check. Anyone have any issues with any of the items on the agenda this evening? Now we'll move into old business. Just for information for the general public, Iron Star, we will not be convening the public hearing at this point in time. And Iron Star will be giving us an update as to where they are, so.
Face you guys? Or face?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to provide you and the public, both here and on Zoom, with an update regarding the project. As many of you are aware, my name is Stacy Shergan and I own the property at 2540 Route 82. I'm coming to you tonight to give you an update on our project as not only the owner and the applicant, but also as your neighbor and part of this community. Sorry, I'm having trouble breathing. Before I get into the changes we are making to the plans, I wanted to quickly speak to my experience of the public hearing in December, as I feel there are things that need clarification. At the public hearing, I spoke of how much I love the property and love being here with my family. When we purchased the property in early 2020, I was excited about building a home for my family. I was even more excited when I reviewed the zoning and saw that this beautiful place could be shared with others, since the zoning allows for the development of a retreat. I started to imagine a place where people could peacefully gather to enjoy the outdoors, see the stars, and be surrounded by nature and agriculture. I always knew how special Ancram was, but being at the property only makes that feeling stronger. Speaking with neighbors and members of the community like yourselves who share that feeling and who promote the comprehensive plan's vision of an Ancram that is the same but better. From preserving open spaces, encouraging agriculture and agritourism, the town's vision for its future was integral to formulating the Iron Star proposal. With all this in mind, it seemed natural to believe that building a retreat center into the landscape, continuing to farm the property and preserving open spaces would be welcomed by the community. In December, we stood here ready to answer questions and hear concerns in relation to the proposed project. But I was very surprised to be met with such opposition. Obviously, I understood and expected that the community would have questions and concerns about the project, but very few of the issues raised were about the project itself. Instead, the comments attacked both me and my family on matters not related to the retreat and based their attacks from 10 Yelp and Google reviews of a few disgruntled tenants over the last 10 years related to a company that is not even developing this project. These 10 plus reviews do not make a reputation of someone who has worked for over 35 years in the same industry and has rented over 10,000 people in those 30 years, apartments. There was also chanting heard amongst the crowd that I evicted a tenant who resided on my property. This is completely false. The tenant had arranged to vacate with the prior owner at his request, and since she owned a house in Pine Plains for over 40 years, it was not a problem for her. The house needed renovations, and we worked it out that she would stay until the house was ready. This was not an eviction. Since living here, I have encountered people walking or driving their snowmobiles and ATVs on the property, people taking flowers right from the property, people parking their equipment over property lines. And I even had appliances stolen from the trailers after tenants vacated. I think anyone in this room would attest that I treated all of those people with grace. I chalked it up to living in a rural setting where nobody knows me. And since no one resided on this property for the last 10 years, everyone felt comfortable to do these things. And I said nothing and did nothing. But when people attack my family and who I am as a person, I cannot be silent. I don't need to defend my character. I know exactly who I am. But I do ask those of you who have chosen to be unkind throughout this process, and especially at last month's meeting, to keep your comments to things that relate to the project, instead of personal attacks that have no family. I want to hear from all of you, and I want to be proud of this project. I am building a business because I love this land, and I love the idea of helping others enjoy this land too. A handful of community members who toured the property this past summer did express that the community would prefer less income over change. But based on the people I've met and worked with here in Ancram, I don't think that sentiment reflects how everyone in this town feels. I actually think that there are many people who likely aren't in this room or on this Zoom that need and would appreciate the potential income and jobs brought to this community through our project, not only through direct service at the retreat, but the additional income to local businesses for construction, farm tours, purchasing produce, and farm products, etc. So what is the Iron Star Retreat? And what does it mean? And what exactly is the project? Here is a laywoman's explanation of the retreat. The retreat is a quiet place for people and families to come and enjoy the outdoors and open spaces. Whether it would be to spend time with family or friends, it will be a place that offers retreat from the busy world. The intention is to give guests small farm experiences, collecting eggs from chickens and honey from bees, picking vegetables and fruits, and also offering cooking or art classes. Inviting guests to stay a few days in small cabins so they can unplug from the world and see open, beautiful farmland up close, and patron local businesses in the area. These and other planned activities are quiet and peaceful experiences. This is the mission of our project. And my family and I and our house are the project's closest neighbors. In an effort to address the comments we have received about the project, we have considerably scaled back our plans. While our full site plan set of updated plans will be submitted to the board shortly, by way of a brief update, we plan to reduce the number of units by approximately 50%. We have removed all development from the west side of the creek, and the ridge will not be developed. This will dramatically reduce any potential impacts, including utility demands, stormwater generation, and any perceived lighting impacts, etc. The total number of units will be reduced from 33 to 17. Having fewer units means having fewer occupants and even traffic to the property. This reduction will also naturally reduce the maximum number of occupants by approximately half. Importantly, all of our units will remain modular, with roughly 90% of the building taking place off-site, making temporary construction on the property less noisy and disruptive. Because the scale of the project has been significantly reduced, the staffing will also be reduced. Currently, our updated plan will provide employee housing for an innkeeper and other staff as needed as the project phases in. The earth will be less disturbed by using helical pile systems as opposed to digging foundations. Additionally, we will not need as many amenity buildings or a large event space. The lighting will be carefully designed so that it isn't just dark sky compliant, but it will have motion sensors where permitted so as not to light up the night sky. We plan for no lighting on the ridges at all. We will continue to be committed to the land and making it as beautiful as possible with natural and native species. While I have only met a handful of you personally, whether it be touring you on the property for hours or talking to you about partnerships and programming, I left those meetings always feeling hopeful and comfortable that we would work together to reach a place that is okay for all of us. I know that this takes trust on both sides, and I think we can get there. And I hope to present a plan in March that is amenable enough to all of you. These plans will be filed with you all shortly, and we ask that you might consider setting a workshop at either your March 3rd meeting or a separate workshop meeting as the board sees fit to consider the reduced development proposal. I look forward to your questions at that time, and I appreciate your time this evening and for the opportunity to provide this update to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so just to recap, what Ms. Sherman said, this point, we will not be taking any more comment on the application that was before us. They will be making a new submission, potentially prior to the March meeting if feasible. And at that point, we will need to determine whether we want to schedule a public hearing or if we want to hold a workshop session first, which I think would be in our best interest, hold a workshop session, where we can just gather all the information and digest it, and go from there. So if any planning board members have any questions, fine. If not, that's the game plan. That's where we're going.
Yeah, I don't think the meeting in March is going to be the time to have the work session. I think we need a presentation from them.
Right.
And then we're going to have to
And the
schedule.
schedule work session.
So you mean a work session and not appear in March?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think, well, no, you
Appear in March.
can still appear in March.
okay,
No, if you get your submission in,
okay,
and it'll get to the board, then you can give us an overview of it. And
okay,
then subsequent to that, before the April meeting, we will schedule a workshop session.
Right.
A separate meeting just for that.
okay, fine, okay,
And that will give us the opportunity to then just have a dialogue between you and the board.
okay,
And
Yeah.
no public input at that point.
okay.
Then, once that's established, we'll continue the public hearing.
Right, you make the presentation, that's the.
Got
me.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
John Lyons, you want?
Yes, I am.
Okay, John, are you good with that?
Yes, I am. The only thing I would add to it is that the other thing I think that the board needs to do is to start, the workshop session will be a useful place to begin the seeker environmental review process. And we had discussed using that meeting to start going through and completing part 2 of the environmental assessment form. At some point soon, you'll need to make your determination of significance about the project. So you should keep that on your agenda for the workshop as well. And you should have Nan available to you for the workshop so that she can assist you in going through part 2 of the EAF.
Yeah, I would actually for the workshop, I'd like to have Nan and George both here.
Part
We can
one
do that.
probably, part one is probably going to change with the reduction of the units, so I think they got to revise
The whole EAF.
the whole EAF.
I think we're anticipating that you'll get a new environmental assessment form with the revised version of the plan. And that's what you can use as your basis for moving on to part 2.
Right.
Okay, thank you, John.
Could I ask, the workshop is open to the public?
Open to the public, but the public will not have the opportunity to speak. No comments from the public at the workshop session.
What do you have?
And when will that be
Okay,
publicized?
we don't know yet. It all depends if the submission comes to us by the March 3rd meeting, then we'll be able to schedule a date for a public hearing, for a workshop. But until we have everything in hand, I'm not gonna, speculate as to when the date could be.
Will you put the workshop date on your?
Yes.
On the.
That'd be no.
It has to be noticed, because anytime we have a public meeting, we're gonna notice the meeting, so.
But the workshop will be separate.
It's still a meeting, it's a public meeting. Whether it's separate or not, it's still a public meeting.
Okay.
When more than 3 of us get together, it's a meeting. We can't meet in private.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, then we'll move along. I'd like to take the liberty of moving, just changing the agenda a little bit, and let's go to the Sneaker application. Right, you counsel here at this point, but,
I'm sorry, did you, this is
Okay.
Karen Mincer. Did you say the Schneeberger application? I wasn't sure if I heard correctly.
yes, I did.
Okay, okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
My name is Karen Mincer. Can you hear me?
You can.
Okay, I'm a partner in the law firm of Mincer Mach, which is counsel to the applicant for this project. We thank the planning board for its thoughtful consideration of this application. We were recently brought in by the applicant in order to help get this project across the finish line. It's viewed by the applicant as an agricultural grading project to remove a knoll in the middle of 2 farm fields to reduce slopes in order to make the farm safer and enhance its usability. Simple removal of the materials comprising the knoll from the farmland is the best way to reduce the slope without impacting existing fields or otherwise interrupting farming activities for a season or more. We submitted initial comments on the proposed resolution to council for the planning board and have since learned that despite the fact that the New York State DEC views the project as an aid to farming activities and exempt from the mining laws, the planning board nevertheless considers this project to be a gravel mine under the town code.
No, we don't.
With that understanding, upon further review of the town code and further discussion with our client, and in line with our client's desire to be a good neighbor, and while also helping the farm, we have further reviewed the resolution. And while many of the conditions are consistent with the code provisions that would be applicable to gravel mines, there are a few problematic conditions that we'd like to discuss this evening. Before we get to the conditions, we have provided the planning board through its counsel with some comments on the whereas clauses of the proposed resolution on pages 1 through 4. Most significant, we have changes to the whereas clauses, most of which are just factual. And the most significant comment on the whereas clauses is on paragraph 4Q. I don't know if, does the planning board have the resolution in front of them?
I have mine.
Okay. So 4Q contained language stating that the applicant had voluntarily agreed to restrict future regrading of the site. And that is just a misstatement. Neither the applicant nor the farmer have voluntarily agreed to restrict future regrading on the site. And while at this time, no additional regrading is contemplated, we don't know what the future holds and won't agree to restrict potential future grading on the farm. Other than that, you know, I think they're just other factual, hopefully non-controversial edits to the whereas clauses. I can move on to the conditions. Okay, so our conditions are, we just wonder, you know, condition 1 says that the grading project is limited to the site plan and the site plan shall be strictly followed. So we just question the extra language in conditions 2 and 11, which, you know, seem to repeat what's already in the site plan, which must be complied with. We don't dispute that. We also removed some extraneous language and potentially confusing language in conditions 2 and 11. And then we move on to condition 5, which states that during the 16-month course of the project, the applicant shall keep written logs documenting on a daily basis the number of truckloads of material and the volume of extracted material in each truckload. And we've added in cubic yards. That's how we know the applicant can measure volume. We just wanted to make it clear that that's how the logs would be kept, with cubic yards reference. We also would like the last sentence of that paragraph to be removed, which says that the board reserves the right to request additional information in future log submissions once the first logs are submitted. We would really like to understand, or we'd like to know what the board expects up front. If there's additional information that the board can imagine it might want, we would like to know now, just so we know what we need to provide going in. So I don't know if the chair or any of the members have any ideas about what additional information they might expect in a log. We'd be happy to, you know, hear about that this evening. Otherwise, we'd like that sentence to come out. And then moving to condition 7, we have agreed to a specific volume and to conduct the removal of the material over 16 months. So we don't think it's necessary or fair to limit the number of trucks in and out per day. We have agreed to limit truck trips during rush hour. And frankly, we have no interest in doing a lot of work during rush hour. But, you know, there's some days where there'll be some material removed with one truck. There's some days where there might be more material removed depending on, you know, the weather, depending on, you know, other obligations of the applicant. So we need the flexibility to, you know, have a certain number of trucks there per day. We could agree to limit it to 24, no more than 24 trips per day, or an average of 24 trips per day. But we do need the flexibility, and we believe that limiting the trips per day, you know, is in excess of the planning board's authority under the gravel mining provision of the zone code. So-
Just so you go on, I wanted to interrupt you briefly.
Sure.
On that matter right there, I think there was a question as to how many trips were expected, and it was, the number was thrown out, it was either 4 trucks 6 times a day or 6 trucks 4 times a day, and that's where the 24 came from.
Right. I think once we saw it in the rest, I think that was maybe an estimate, but you know, and it's probably in the range, but we don't want to be hit with a violation if somehow on one day we happen to have a lot of time to come in and out. I mean, I really don't think we're going to have any more than that, but we just don't want to be limited in the resolution, and we don't think it's within the board's authority to regulate, to impose those limitations. You know, we're talking about, you know, potentially 650 truck trips over 16 months. I mean, that works out to very few trucks per day. But if somehow the weather, you know, impacts something, or, you know, the farm doesn't want us to be there a certain period, we just need the flexibility to have a big day if we need to. But, you know, you're not talking about a lot of truck trips over the whole project in general. So I don't know if the proposed language is acceptable to the board with that explanation.
Yeah, here's what happens with trucks hauling it out, and we all do this all the time. Somebody doesn't have to haul today over here with 2 or 3 trucks. I get calls sometimes from other people to haul. Same way, I've had multiple companies haul on projects all of a sudden to haul in. You never know any given day. Calarusa maxes out with trucks sometimes. They've had the busiest year this past year ever with the new power lines going. Every truck, every busy. But if this truck's over here can't do this today, keep the truck drivers busy, they would send it here, basically what she's saying. 24 trips limiting that one day, they might send, this is just my guesstimation, I don't know your routine, they might send 8 trucks up there today. Maybe they all get 4 trips in a day, where tomorrow, the next day, may not be hauling at all, hauling somewhere else, moving. I see it being a benefit, the more they can get in there and out today. Everybody thinks trucks all at once, say 24 trucks. You have to load each one of those trucks. In the meantime, the other one is gone. He may be gone for hours before he gets back. So they're not all going out of that driveway at the same time.
Right.
Probably 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes apart.
Your pinch point is gonna be loaded.
Yeah.
It takes time to load.
Yes, it does. It does. Your position, one truck driver might drive slower than the other, making trips. One does the speed limit, one might do 35. They're all different. And we see that. I see that sometimes. One driver, well, like I just had one retired, might do 6 trips in a day. Another one might get 5. It just depends. Traffic, weather, everything. I would see this being on a scheduled project. For the time limit, it would be beneficial if they could go over that 24 if they had to go.
Well, I mean, you know, if those trucks were gonna be running, you know, 15 yards, 18 yards.
No, they're
Oh, you use
Oh,
trailers?
yeah, trailers.
All right, so you use trailers, you 30 yards. So, you know,
1 yard bucket, it's gonna take 30 scoops to load it.
It's gonna take a lot of load, yeah, yes, and position, yeah.
John, it's Larry Stockel here, and I'm wondering if I could give a short observation for you that I think would really help the planning board and also Karen in terms of making a decision.
Larry, I'd like to continue this discussion right now between board and council. It's not, so I'd like to just hold on, please.
They should only let them in when we.
Yeah,
ask.
right, yeah.
Just let people in when we ask.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens.
All right.
All right, any other discussions on the truck issue or?
Now, I have a question that goes back to the beginning. One of the first comments, you said the farm. Is the site plan that was submitted to us, is that the farm or is there more farm?
Well, the farm is 113 acres. The site plan doesn't cover the entire farm.
Well, I'm talking the area we're disturbing as opposed to the site plan, the map that was shown to us, I think is the whole 113 acres.
Oh, well, so I'm sorry, the area of disturbance is 3.7 acres. Did you hear me? It's 3.7 acres is the area of disturbance.
Right, but the map that was shown to us was a large parcel.
Mm-hmm.
Extent of the farm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me look at the site plan.
I'm trying to understand your comment about not doing this again. If there's another piece somewhere else, you know, fine, but we're talking about what's on this map.
It's hard. I don't think the entire farm is shown on the map. But I could find out. It doesn't look like it to me with the whole.
A SWIP plan or?
Yeah, the SWIP plan, the whole site plan, the one that came before, which whether it was the first one or the SWIP plan.
So
I don't think
the
that-
old one.
Yeah, so the site plan does not show the entire farm. It
I
shows a
think
portion.
That's what Joe's question is.
Yes, it does not. So you're seeing a portion of the 113 acres.
The same area, 113 acres. Is that what's shown on this map? That's not. I understand the comment, if they wanted to come back, is it somewhere beyond this piece or is it on this piece?
But do you know the answer for that?
What was the question?
The field is actually shown on the plan, on the map. That's not the whole 113 acres.
I don't think so.
It's definitely not.
No, it's not.
That is correct. That is correct.
Right.
And the SWIP doesn't show the whole property, either only shows the
Yeah,
area.
it wouldn't be needed to.
Yeah, I think our limitation was on the area that's shown on this map.
There.
Yeah, not.
Well, that's fine. So that is fine. It was just the resolution was a little unclear.
There's a 45, it's not 45 acre piece.
I mean, would you agree that there's no more excavation on what is shown to us here? Because that was what the comment was referring to, not beyond that.
So what we are asking for is to excavate 20,000 cubic yards in a 3.7 acre area of the larger farm. And that's the only thing that we're asking for at this time. nothing else is contemplated at this time, but, I can't say in the future on a 113 acre farm that there'll be no future regrading activities.
All right, Karen, what Joe's referring to is if this is only, let's say, 45 acres of a 113 acre farm, would you be willing to agree to that stipulation on this particular field,
No,
whole farm?
no, we have a specific project before the planning board. And we will comply with the site, with this. Is it that the site plan's too large? Is that the issue? I mean,
No. You're saying that you're not agreeing to, or you don't want to agree to further excavation on the farm.
to limit further grading on the farm, yes.
What we're saying is what we've seen from that location out there is only about 40 to 45 acres of the whole farm. And we're looking at it, not knowing what's beyond this 40, 45 acres, we're looking at it and saying, we don't think there's a need for any other excavation in this portion of the field.
And I'm telling you, right now, the goal is to remove a particular knoll. So I don't know what else the farmer may need on these 45 acres at some point in the future.
Well, I think at some point in time, it was conveyed to us that this was the only excavation that was needed to take place on this lot.
I thought we talked about the whole parcel.
Well,
To us, this was the parcel, I think.
so I don't know. Again, we've just become involved. I don't think the applicant has, the farmer's involved in the application, but he's not the farmer. And we can't bind the farm to, to not conduct future regrading activities on almost a half of its farm. This is what's necessary right now. And this is what's before the planning board, this particular application. If there was going to be additional regrading of this sort, we'd have to come in again.
We're talking about regrading, we're talking about commercial excavation.
Well, I think I should, set the record straight here. I know you guys are looking at this as commercial excavation. The farmer is not being paid for this material it's not being paid for this material. It's being removed for free. So, again, it's a farming operation. It's a regrading of a knoll. I've read your code. I see the definition of large mine. I understand that there's, I think you have to look at this as the removal of a knoll. It's not for money. I know that this material could be valuable in the market, but the farmer's not being paid for this removal. So again, any additional grading activity that's leaving the farm would have to come before you again.
As John, I believe we went through this once before. We have to look what's before us, not what we speculate. And they would have to come back, I think, correct. From the legal standpoint.
We were also advised today that John was not able to give us his report in time for tonight. And that he needs time to review.
Well, no, there was supplement email to that.
I'm trying to look at this as it is a farm activity, but if you're gonna tell me that you don't want to be restricted to not doing it again, and you're gonna come back in 2 years and ask for the same thing again, and another part of what's shown on this site plan, I'm gonna have a problem with that. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, the site plan happens to be a 45 acre parcel. We could have come in with a site plan that just showed these 4 acres. So I'm not understanding why what happens to be on the site plan is a serious concern. There's no planned additional excavation at this time. If we had to do more, if the farmer requested us to do more, and it was going to be taken off site, we would come back to you again. And at that point, you could decide whether you thought it was approvable or not. But, you know, it's just not an appropriate inquiry at this time. We're coming to you for a particular approval for a particular project.
Joe, this is John Lyons. Would it be accurate to say, if I were to say that the concern that I'm hearing from you on this would be somewhat akin to the kind of concern one might have about segmentation, about there being a larger plan and that comes in for approvals piecemeal? Is that what your concern is?
Yeah. I mean, if you're telling me we're doing this because of the dangerous situation to farming, and we're correcting it, if there's something else on the site, we should correct it now, or it's not, it doesn't need to be corrected. And I think the comment and the limiting back on this portion that's shown is not an unreasonable restriction. That's my feeling.
So, John, just to John Lyons' point, I think that is an appropriate way to look at it. We have no plans at this point to do additional grading. You know, so it would be pure speculation using secret terms to anticipate additional grading in the acreage of the farm that happens to be shown on the site plan. So, you know, I think the board should act on the specific application that is before it. And if another application comes in, it can decide that application at that time. There's nothing in the code that requires an applicant to waive future, you know, action. That's, you know, could be perceived as similar to action that's being applied for now.
Yeah, I don't think that's what the board's trying to do here. I think what the board's trying to get a handle on is to be able to see what the activity is as a whole, rather than, you know, are we looking at just a piece of something larger, or are we looking at the whole thing?
Right now, you were looking at the whole thing.
Well, that's the right now part, is the part that does.
Well, again, I can't, the way the resolution is drafted now, I couldn't come into you in 20 years and ask for an additional grading project.
Joe, would it address your concerns if the resolution were to say that the applicant has represented to the board that there are no plans for any further excavation beyond the parameters of this project? And at least
this time, there's nothing contemplated.
Yes, but it would memorialize the fact that the board's being asked to grant this application on the strength of the fact that of that representation, that there's no further plans at this time. And if your client comes back in, you know, in 6 months with or 6 months after this project is completed with another application, then that representation in the record is there, and it's going to have to be dealt with regard to the second application.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, you're going to have the application and the record of this being granted if another application came in that short period of time. And then you could say, we're not doing this piecemeal. It should have been raised the last time. I mean, getting it in a resolution, a representation that's not accurate and that's not required for the application is just not agreeable to us. You know, this is not because we have any plan to do anything, and you will have the opportunity, if another application comes in, to object. But
well, it's a germane area of inquiry, in my opinion, because this board has issued a negative declaration as its secret determination for this project based on the representations of the plan that have been made to the board by the applicant. So I certainly think it's an area that's worth exploring for the board, and you know, how we decide to resolve it, we'll have to see. But
The neg deck is based on the project before it, that it's a 3.7 acre disturbance with 20,000 cubic yards. There is,
Yes.
so that in every secret project, John, you could ask, you could have the same concern. There is not a single secret project that you could imagine being segmented by a potential project down the road. That's just not,
Right.
that's not how secret works. And I'm, you know,
But segmentation cases are out there, you know, projects have been found to have been broken up and fed piecemeal through the process, but that's
how about a
a
representation?
discussion for another day.
We
I-
would accept a representation that at this time, no further grading is contemplated. That's it. So, you know, I think that should do it. That's really what segmentation is meant to address. The current contemplation of future connected activities.
I think there's a difference between grading and this excavation that's going, material going off-site is a commercial business. I think there's a big difference of calling things grading. You can do all the grading you want, but when you start loading it and taking it out as a business, that's a very different thing than agricultural business.
I think if the name Palumbo wasn't on the other side of this application, that wouldn't be the case. Because if we were removing, Joe Blow was removing this material from this site, where it landed up wouldn't matter, because it's going to Palumbo, it seems to matter, so. I mean, excavation is excavation. I mean, if
Agreed.
there's an apartment lot here, we'd have to take the material off site.
And like you said,
Disturbable property.
There's more disturbance. To raise the grade 1 foot on this piece of property by not removing any material, you have to disturb 14 acres.
exactly, you have to, because it's not just, I mean, you'd have to take fields out of use while you spread the material that's in the knoll on the fields. You picked out rocks and other material that's not conducive to farming. And then you have to cover the whole thing with topsoil. That is a major project with major interruption for the farm and farming activities. So the simple removal is the best way to aid the farm in its agricultural activities. I know there's a thought that, like you said, Palumbo's involved and there's somehow money to be made here, but the facts before you are that this is a farm that has a knoll that's not conducive to agricultural activities and needs to be removed. And this is the least impactful way to do it. And, you know, my objection to the whereas clauses with respect to future activities on the property really, you know, isn't about whether they're commercial or not. It's just about what's required under SECRA and what the board may or may not ask for to grant a specific application.
Karen, are there any other items that,
Yes, so so that was item 7. Item 7 was about the number of trucks per day. Condition 11 has just some extraneous language in there that we took out. And then with respect to item 14, we understand, condition 14, we understand that the town wants to do a post-completion inspection or have its consulting engineer do a post-completion inspection. We thought we couldn't imagine that would cost $1,500. I mean, I'll joke that even a lawyer going out there wouldn't cost that much money. An engineer certainly shouldn't cost that much money either. So we put that in half. We thought $750 would cover it. You know,
to have somebody survey the final profile?
it's not a survey, it's a post-completion inspection.
Well, what we were looking to do is make sure that the profile that's shown on the SWIP plan was met. So that it would have to be some sort of a survey, it's topographically, that profile has to be checked.
So since the applicant is being required to do an initial survey, thought between the initial survey and the site plan, another survey afterwards doesn't seem to be required.
Well, if you, but what we're looking at, it's got Joe right, it's an as-built. What we're looking at is the applicant agreed to reduce it to 20,000 yards. Now, they also provided a profile on the SWIP plan that they said that would be the final profile. As a result, if you reach that profile by removing 15 or 18,000 yards out, that's the profile we want. We're going by the profile, not by the yardage.
And that won't be indicated in the as-built that that's
Yeah,
required?
sure.
Okay, so then if the as-bilt's being required, I'm not sure why an additional survey would be required by the town engineer.
As-built survey.
Yeah.
The surveyor has to go out and do it.
He needs to
Well,
know.
no, I mean, we're gonna have an as-built in condition 12. We have to have an as-built done by a licensed surveyor. So I'm not, so it seems excessive that then the town would have to have an additional survey.
Well, that's why it was initially contemplated that the action that would be taken would be an inspection, which would be to have the town engineer look at the as-built plan and then go out and verify on the ground that the condition matches the as-built plan.
Right, and so that seems to be covered by 12, condition 12 and condition 14. So if it's just a final inspection, it seems like it's not a survey, as you said, John. It's just someone looking to see if the as-built are reflected accurately on the ground.
Well, what I'm hearing is that the applicant is willing to agree to that inspection. It's the amount of the escrow. I think that at one time, John, we had asked George to give the board an estimate as to what the probable cost of that would be. I'm not sure that he got to that, but maybe what the board can do is get back with George and find out what the cost of the inspection would be. I'm not sure. I don't think that the $1,500 number came from George Schmidt.
I don't think it did. We can talk to George about that and finalize that number.
Okay, it sounds like we're in agreement though that it's really an inspection based on the as-built and the.
You can make it not to exceed also.
Right, maybe not to exceed, and
Okay, I think it just seemed excessively high to us based on our understanding of what the person was going to do. So
you're going to provide the as-built that is going to be signed off by a professional.
exactly.
Any other comments?
So we're saying we're going by
What-
the plan, the topo plan.
Right, the ones on the SWIP,
Yeah,
correct.
but
They want,
you're saying that it could possibly be a less volume,
correct,
but it could possibly be more.
not to exceed 20,000.
So
In other words,
the truck
it's-
lots will
It's,
manage
right,
that.
it's not to exceed 20,000. And
Or-
cannot go below the profile that's shown on the SWIP. So the bottom line is, it could be 18,000, could be 16, whatever, let's face it, what they're estimating here is an estimate. You know, once they start taking it out, they might reach that profile at 16,000 yards. Well, that's it.
Measuring something in place is going to be different than when it's on a truck.
Right.
There's a fluff factor.
Yeah.
involved.
Yes, there is.
So the truck log may increase above because of the fluff factor. But
Right.
what we're basing it on is
There's a profile,
is the profile.
but in no way to exceed 20,000. Any other questions from the board? Dan, you have anything else?
I don't
I
have
both-
anything at the moment.
Either do I.
John, do you think it would be at this point, well, first of all, we need with the board, how do we want to address the issue with the trucks per day? We can actually resolve that.
We had hours that was agreed.
Well,
to.
yeah, there's, I think it's
That's fine.
seven, I think it's 7 to 4, but restrict, or not restrict, but limit as much truck traffic in the early hours during the school bus trips and everything.
And-
7 to 9
and-
and.
6:30
7 to 6.
6:30.
Okay, 7 to 6, I'm sorry.
No, well, do you want me, would you like me to read the condition? I'm happy to read it. It says, truck trips shall be limited to the maximum extent practicable between the hours of 7 AM to 9 AM in the mornings and between the hours of 4 PM and 6 PM in the evening. So it sounds like we're supposed to minimize truck trips during rush hours. And the applicant's willing to agree to that.
And we agreed to set the hours the same as OG, which is 6:30 to 2:30.
So that is not in the resolution currently.
Well, that's something we might have to address as we amend this and move on.
What were the hours you said?
6:30 to 2:30.
So I'll have to consult with the applicant.
Was the.
That was the applicant.
Yeah, I am the applicant.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see. I'm sorry.
No, we agreed on that. The board agreed on that a couple meetings ago on the hours of operation. They were gonna make them the same as the line next door.
Okay, Fred, if that's okay with you.
Yep, that's fine. That gets us out of the school bus traffic and
Yep,
stuff.
all right, that's what we do at the shop, we leave it in the haulers. Okay.
Any questions on some of the other items that Karen raised?
I don't know, for some reason, I didn't get this one that you're looking at. I printed out one today, and I don't know if it came later in the day.
This one,
It did.
So I didn't get that, and I don't have it in front of me, so it's really difficult.
It was.
That the 6:15 one.
608.
608 one.
It came in at 6:08. Yeah, so, a lot of us don't have it. in
I
front of
have the
us, so.
608.
All right, so why don't we do this? John, if you're in agreement, we'll have the board take all these comments under consideration and get their comments back to Jay, and we'll get everything to you, John, and then we can circulate the revised drafts.
Yes, that makes sense. And if we can get to a point where the board has a final draft so that it can then be circulated to the applicant, so we can just have the circle closed before the next meeting, that would be the best way to go.
Everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Okay,
The only thing I'd like to add is the start date. Is when the weather's permitting after all of this hold up now.
yeah, I think, the start date would be when you can, when you can, and that the clock would start ticking then.
Clock starts ticking when we move the machine in and strip the topsoil.
Yeah, you can't start the clock now because you can't do any work.
No, I mean, that's the sale, so.
Okay,
Can I get one point of clarification? John Lyons,
Yes,
it's Jay. Did you?
Hi.
Hello. Good evening. Did you send the applicant's attorney either draft of the part 3?
no.
Okay.
That's
So,
This that you sent to us,
Yeah.
I gotta say, that's very good. Thank you.
all right,
Thank
do
you.
you want to,
so they should be able to look at that
yeah,
as well.
okay. That's it then? Okay, thank you, Karen.
Okay, thank you very much for your consideration.
Okay.
Forward to getting the redraft.
John, is it
Yes.
possible for me to add something for the board to consider?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I'm not gonna get into a dialogue and give and take. I'm not gonna start.
I agree. No, John, I agree. I appreciate everything the board has done. Here's one little thing. As a farmer of 29 years, if the board went and looked at the knoll, what they should also do is go look at John Langton's equipment. It is equipment that is specifically designed to operate in the Northeast, doing hills and knolls. He's farmed it for 22 years. He's harvested, he's sold it year in, year out. If you also go to the other big contract farmers in our area, Lloyd Vale, who has a lot of acreage in Ancram, as well as Peter Coons over at Coons Brothers in Millbrook.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I gotta tell you, the board has already voted on this, and we are just doing the resolution with the conditions. We're not gonna go back and revisit this and revote. This has been approved by the board. The only thing that's not been approved is the resolution with the conditions.
Thank you, John. I have one question, John.
Yeah.
My concern, and I think John Lyons brought this up clearly, is this issue of setting precedent. You're looking at 2 million cubic yards on this particular site. And if we look at what happened in Copake, my neighbor, Sal Casino, once the door was opened, that door could never be closed. And one of your opening statements, John, was you don't want to get sued. Well, the town can try to do what it wants to do, but I'm really worried that once that door cracks open, is the town going to be able to keep it to just that one item? And I know John Lyons was speaking very closely with Karen about that, this precedent issue.
So I just want to point out, I believe the public comment period on this application is closed. I think as the chair has indicated, I'm not sure why this discussion is happening right now. And I think we've discussed that the application is the application before the planning board. No other application is before the planning board.
We're just, as I said, we're just dealing with the conditions for the resolution.
Thank you, John, and I apologize for sneaking in.
Okay, moving along. Mayberg application?
Do you need me any further? This is John Lyons. John, do you need me for any of the other?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, John.
Are y'all ready?
We're all ready.
All right, I come bearing gifts. I have maps, revised maps. We did a couple of things. You should have the driveway profile that Andy Aubin did. Not on this map, but as a separate email. So the driveways changed slightly to achieve the proper grade, so you'll see those reflected. We have added proposed leach fields, wells, septic tanks, house sites, and transformers. And then we also added a couple of notes. We added the agricultural note that you were looking for. And then also, I spent some time with your code, and it requires us to do note 10. And we have added note 10 that says if you are dividing a property to less than its maximum, that you need to say what the maximum is. So that is note 10 as required by your code. It says that this maximum would be 7 on this property, but we're only obviously doing 3. But I wanted to make sure that was on there since your code said it had to be. And I think that's everything for the map itself. We've got the turnouts on there also. We reviewed best management practices for the New England cottontail. And actually, I think this is going to be good news for the rabbit. Currently, there's corn here on this site. We're not going to keep the corn. That's going to be turned into meadow. And we're going to immediately stop all applications of pesticides and fertilizers because we want to bring the property back organic. And rabbits love meadow. They love meadow, they love thicket, so we think it's gonna be better for the
Meadow
rabbits.
or some sort of organic grass or
Yes,
something
well,
that,
that's still meadow.
something that,
Hay,
that will enhance
yeah.
their habitat.
So rabbits should be thrilled. I also brought these were emailed to you. It just has more information about grading, drainage, and driveways. And I think that is pretty much our list. So this. And you should already have like our approved driveway cut from the highway department that we brought to you, I believe, at the last meeting.
And the letter from Mike DeLuzio.
And we sent you Mike's letter, yep. And we have Catterskill Associates working on the septics.
I know.
You got the health department letters for the lots?
So where's this plan? Did you just get this?
No, you should have gotten that.
In the mail, yeah, but we don't have that.
So, this is exactly what this is, shares more detailed information I had from the driveway. The location is still the exact same as what shows on the big map. This is just.
Is this getting submitted to the
Yes.
board too?
Yep,
Yeah,
In
and
a,
then-
does this scale or?
you've got it as a digital copy as well as that. I can ask them to print bigger ones, but I'm trying not to kill lots of trees, just a few trees.
This just basically shows, where the grades are, but it's really more for the person's constructing,
Yeah.
exactly where it's supposed to cut, where it's supposed to fill, how to change it to keep everything at the proper grade. And most of this information can actually put into the modern day equipment, just take care of that way. So that's why it's a little more detailed. But they're basically the same thing, it's just a lot more information.
Yeah.
And they're following the utilities and their own. This is the inverse easement, it's gonna be driveway.
You already have that,
You already
from the attorney,
have that.
had that for 2 meetings now, I think.
Yep. We submitted that to you.
So you have a shared,
A
Sure.
a driveway
The driveway
maintenance
agreement?
agreement,
Yes,
it's
yes.
equally shared between the 3 parcels, and you should have that already.
yes.
Our attorney wrote it, Paul Flint, up in Chatham.
Go to our attorney.
Yeah.
And the utilities are following the driveway,
Yes,
Yeah, it's all underground
so
utilities.
it's not just ingress and egress, it's a utility easement, so I think that.
And you've got the transformer location partner already. I mean, I know you.
You know, our utilities on the road.
no, it's gonna be on the side, I believe the earlier map they showed, but now we're just showing.
But where the
just-
transformers
So
were.
it can't be over the company, it shows where the transformers are, we did put it where the new pole's gonna go, we put the pole that's gonna come off, or hidden with the electric company, once you go underground over there. And then, so the whole electric is shown there.
Did they require any utility easement from you?
They will, yes, they would, according to this, they would have to sign utilities.
We gotta show it on the plat.
It's a lot of information. But yeah, you're asking about following the road, not cutting out through. Cutting out through. It's going direction, when you do that, you do that to save on the footage of the time. It'll be definite, but you won't have to worry about that.
So it's gonna be
It's not on here,
overground.
it's on this one.
Yeah, and then this is gonna be all. And normally, they wanna wait and do the easement when they actually
Yeah, they'll
sign
survey.
a contract with them.
The easement has to be for.
We can
I
certainly.
believe
add
the
it.
road maintenance has the easement in it, and it talks about it.
Yeah, does it show it in this?
But we did discuss it several
Yeah.
meetings ago.
This is not showing up how we're running into the.
Yeah, that is just the grade of the driveway. That's a separate, that's something separate.
I'm sorry, it's what?
That shows the grade of the driveway. That shows where you need to cut and fill in order to keep the grade at under 10%. That's all that shows. And it also shows some drainage. So you engineered the drainage for it and all.
Yeah, so it's cutting up through here.
It's
which is
showing
fine.
that right there.
Fire company
Yeah.
requires a height for these lots to go up through there. Because these are gonna be individual meters, not primary meters, so there will be an easement.
This
Now,
is different
that's
than
also
that.
everything set up.
Yeah, one shows the transformer, one side of the road. the other shows the other side.
But for these lots, there needs to be an easement for that separate for utility communication. Because mainly what the county company wants this easement for is to be able to work on
What's the
it.
implication of that? Not all.
There probably needs to be an easement. We don't have each of these individuals.
But normally, well, I know our code says they can.
We run into that part of it. It's never been like that.
Yeah. I would imagine that's what they would do.
Yeah. And again, that's what's doing the problem.
So. Yeah, that's a field.
But
It's a farm field, it's a farm, so it's not like I mean, it's only so it goes up into the woods.
Again, it doesn't matter.
This one is going here. Here.
You're gonna have
That
water,
woodland,
water.
when you're all of it, it's very young. Yeah, 20 years. A lot of the brushes that go over the base of stuff too.
Why on lot 3, you bring in the driveway around the back of the house to the other side of the house?
I just think that's what you do.
I believe it.
You're looking at it, you have to scroll. But regardless of how.
I know. Yeah, yeah.
It's also kind of nice.
Yeah, that's what happens when all these people clear this stuff out. So.
I'm just asking why is this like this? It doesn't make
Because
sense.
it's kind of like the U-shapes out this way, and you don't want to just. look at the
So the driveway just
driveway.
came this way.
So there should
Okay.
Yeah.
It just seems a lot more impervious surface. for no reason.
It's gravel.
Yeah, but it's impervious.
No, it's pervious, it's gravel.
No, it's not. Sorry. It's not pervious.
Okay, I thought gravel was.
It's not. It's kind of Ancram, it's impervious.
Okay.
Impervious surface.
So the only thing that we didn't, we kind of forgot to tell you about the agenda, but to make sure that you understand this, if we have 100-foot buffer to this stream.
Yeah,
Not
we put everything as
disturbed.
far away from.
And-
Yeah.
So I just putting it out there for clearing, cleaning, whatever work that 100-foot should be respected for this woodland area.
Yeah, we're not planning to touch anything with that rivers, those creatures, whatsoever. That's why everything is swallowed in that.
I think what should be on here. The meets and bounds of the easement.
Definitely. Be on the flat.
Yeah, at least to get you into to this point here, you know, and. And where the point they want to stop it because they're all.
Yeah, that's where the shared driveway ends up
Right,
there.
so, yeah, I think you're gonna need to plot the meets and bounds from. Your easement.
That is kind of right there, right? Isn't that plotted on it? That's where the map is. It shows the shared driveway.
Yeah, but it doesn't, it's not showing the actual.
It's a description of the easement. We can't read this.
Yeah, I mean, there's no description of the easement on here, it's just lines drawn in. Just like your property, lines and meets and bounds descriptions,
Mhm.
the driveway should have meets and bounds, but
I
I think
believe
that's
that-
part of the easement.
I believe in the road maintenance agreement, there is wordage about it. Yeah, he put drainage in too, because he designed the whole driveway.
It's difficult, because it's not a construction plan.
Right.
Yeah, but you can't sell this stuff. Not until it's developed.
No, right, I'm saying, but, you know,
Hey, that's the problem with it, if they don't put the driveway in, because they can sell a lot, they sell a lot before the driveway. That's what it is.
is it your intent to put the driveway in?
Yes, my
Yes.
intent is to put the driveway in.
You're constructing the houses.
I already have the first house partially designed and I am planning on building.
And we have to come back to you for site plan review for the houses. So it's not your last chance to take a peek at this.
But as far as like the actual subdivision of the land, this does show the driveway. It does put everything on the map that you guys asked for the last couple of meetings. And I believe we kind of hit all the requirements that you have asked of us.
I spent a little time with your code, as you can tell.
Do we have the easements actually for this?
No, we've got, there's a driveway,
Maintenance.
a
Does
maintenance
that
agreement,
show the?
but it doesn't
it's not
show,
a
it
deed.
doesn't show the meets and bounds.
Yeah, so it's not.
And the meets and bounds for the easement has to be on the map,
Yeah.
on the final plat.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
or, you know, may even have to be in the description, may even have to.
In the
I-
deed.
Well, usually that's in the deeds.
Too, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be in all the deeds.
but it also needs to be on the map.
How is it? Okay, I guess I'm confused about how it has to be on the map because it does show the driveway on the map
To scale.
to scale. So what,
Yeah, but
what do you,
we-
I guess I'm asking like, what are you specifically looking for?
Well, just like
On the map.
your property lines have distances and points.
Mhm.
Your driveway has to do that as well, because it's gotta be reflected in the easement because filed with the county.
I believe he had that in his description. He talked about how long it is. I believe the surveyor and
It's like a
and Paul
description.
dealt with that together.
It's a meat and bounds description. of the easement.
So would you like to have them rewrite that driveway maintenance
Well,
agreement
The
or?
the maintenance agreement is, between the individual.
Send it to
Right.
me.
Yeah, we'll have a great look at it. But beyond excuse me, beyond the agreement on, as far as the maintenance is concerned, county is going to want on the file maps, the meets and bounds description of that old driveway.
Again, I'm just trying to understand, how do you want that put on the map? Because I think it is on the map right there. Just show it.
No, I mean, the driveway's on the map. There's no
So
individual,
you want them to go in and like add, and it's just like,
right,
I mean,
he's
there's
gonna,
not gonna be iron rods necessarily every place.
no, but
No, it's on the map,
he knows he's gonna be placing, at each point this driveway turns, there's gonna be a point,
the description.
and a description to that point, and then it's gonna be northwest, so many minutes, and then another description.
All that information, right?
It is, it's
It's gotta be on this
It's
drawing.
gotta be on the drawing that's filed with the county.
Well, this whole thing is gonna be fine, isn't it?
No, they don't want this stuff.
No, everything's gotta be on here, they want, I mean, as far as the drainage and everything, they don't care about that, that's us.
Mhm.
All right, so that, this drainage and all that, stuff, the county doesn't care about. But when there's gonna be easements on the property, they're gonna wanna, well, they meet the bounds descriptions.
So I can ask Dan to add all that to the map.
Yeah,
Can we get conditional approval based upon him adding that to the map? And I can
They're not
have
gonna-
that
they're not
for
gonna
you?
sign this until-
yeah,
Yeah, you're not gonna stamp it or anything until we get that, but I know that this guy wants us to close on this property. But until I get some sort of a conditional approval, at least I'm not willing
We
to
get-
do
yes,
that.
well, we can give you sketch plan approval.
You know, like, I'm on the planning board in Copeg, so a lot of times if the septic letter's not ready yet, we'll give them conditional
We'll
approval
give you-
based on receipt of, and then
We'll
when
give
it
you
comes
sketch plan
to file
approval, and
stamp.
get it by next month, and we can finalize it. I can't stamp that map until everything's on the county.
But are we,
Okay,
I guess my
I guess-
question is, hold on, are we okay with everything else? So that if I
Because-
come back to
Is
you
it- was
next
anybody have any
month with this one
Other than
thing,
that?
can we go on the record that this is the only other thing that we need to give you?
'Cause I
That would
think-
make me a lot
yeah.
more comfortable.
I think we asked that question last time, and now something else is showing up. So we're
Right.
just trying to make it where we're not wasting your
My
time.
assumption was that that was gonna be placed on as part of the driveway maintenance agreement, that the easement has to be in there. That we know it meets the balance, because the county's gonna require it.
I didn't bring it because it was already submitted. I have a printout of it, but I understand what they're asking for. We can have Dan add that.
Mhm.
I just need assurance that once we get that, that you're not next month gonna say, hey, can we get this too?
I mean, I'm-
So that it's not an everlasting process for the seller. I'm trying to kind of respect his interest too.
Joe don't care, he's loaded.
It doesn't mean he doesn't still want the money. And that doesn't mean his broker doesn't want to get
Did we
paid
get the help
either.
department?
Yeah, you have the help front letter from Mr. Rizzo.
We have it or you have it?
You
You
have
have
it.
it.
They know it's you, right?
Yep. Can I, before you say yes or no on conditional approval, public hearing still,
Yeah, I know, I'm just, yeah,
and also you do have to do secret.
right, but I'm just, we're just toying around with, can we go that direction at this point in time? Is the board inclined to do that? Giving conditional approval pending the plotting of the recent description of the easement for the driveway.
That's gotta include the utilities and the easement also. The easement has to be wide enough to include the utilities.
Yeah, they're not following the driveway.
No, but he still plots out. Here's what happens. Central Hudson only cares about their easement for their part.
Yeah.
They don't care who owns what after that. So what happens later on, the neighbor gets into argument, well, this runs through here, get it out of there, or you're not fixing it. So now Central Hudson, or they want to add something else up through there. Let's put it that way. Central Hudson is only allowed to maintain their line. That's it.
Right.
So if you don't have the separate one, then nobody else can go in there and do anything else. Say a new fiber company comes through. That, this neighbor may go, nope, not pulling it, even if there's a conduit there. I've seen this over and over.
Yeah, it's strictly the Central
And
Hudson.
minor stuff, yeah, strictly, or your communication. It depends how it's worded.
They don't own anything beyond the property.
No, what they do is they have a
Yeah, but
right of way.
this is all primary.
This
This
is all primary.
coming to these.
So they have a right,
Transformers.
they get a right of way for their part, which will also be plotted, so it might be beneficial to do it for here, it'll have to be done for them anyway. Typically.
But when I spoke to Central Hudson, they really were concerned about which one, which pole gonna come off, where they're gonna go overhead, and then they said, you know, whatever's underground is my responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically.
So all the underground is all my responsibility to put it in.
But if the electric is following up the driveway.
It's not.
It's not.
That's what you told us.
Central Hudson's one of the remaining few that will let you still daisy chain, and they will maintain these transformers. But the question is when something else needs to be added or something new or greater comes around, if you don't have that in there.
There will be,
I mean, we can do that as we do the houses too. You know, just put something in that says, listen, each house has an easement over the underground utilities for repairs, maintenance, or new additions. And we could do that as we do the houses.
Just gonna go straight up.
Yeah, apparently they're coming off this pole here.
It shows two
Coming from over here.
That's what we do. Look how much footage that's.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other one of the poles is coming up here on this side. Right?
The poles are in two different places on the big and small maps.
This is existing. This is roughly gonna be, there's gonna be a new pole over
just because the guy who designed the train, like put the pole along.
This guy's
I just
power.
want to show you that the engineer.
Sure.
You know, what town's expecting, what the county expects, including drainage.
Okay, so here,
and
this
all
is,
sorts of grades.
this is just a transformer.
So it's gonna be
Here,
interesting.
here, you just put up the box, so then you got splice. it.
Yeah, 3 transformers, right? 1, 2.
One for each house.
Looks like two.
Which
I haven't
one?
seen
Two transformers.
Zigzag, 1, 2, 3.
Two transformers.
You got one over by the other house.
He's looking at the
I'm
little
looking
one.
at this
Oh, you're looking at the other one.
I'm looking at the little, one. There's 3 there. 1, 2, 3.
No, it doesn't matter.
You got one here for this house. You got one here for that house. You got one here for this house.
No, it looks like it's a, it doesn't look like a transformer. But they've got the transformers. Yeah.
Yeah, see, there's another added over here. There's 3 total. Yeah, 3 transformers.
Power for lot 3 comes up on parcel 2.
Would you looking at the big map or the little map?
We're looking at both of them.
Yeah, they don't match.
Look at this little one. You got 1, zigzag 2, and then you come over to zigzag 3.
Yeah, so here, this transformer.
They don't have a big.
This one's taken care of.
Yeah, there's only 2.
This one.
That's engineers. I go through this all the
I
time.
can't see it.
Dan Russell.
Oh, I see.
I'm sure he just, yeah, me too.
Well, the small map that has your grading and drainage on it doesn't show, doesn't agree with the larger map.
We will have Dan add that. I think because he's been sick, he probably just forgot. He rushed to get these done for us.
I noticed that too, because look, usually it says proposed residence, and up here, if you look, it says potential.
Yeah.
I never see potential on there.
That's a very good.
Yeah,
Potential location.
yeah, usually it's proposed.
Proposal.
What's the pleasure of the board?
We gotta get stuff to match. And we gotta get.
We're gonna get the 3rd transformer added for you. We're gonna get the driveway meets and bounds added for you. So if we get you those 2 things, is that all you need?
Yeah, make sure that the electric on this one is on here and matches. Because they're different.
They need an easement from here to there, so this house.
Exactly.
And there's a problem from here to here, that's not somebody
So you have to
else.
get from this point.
Right, I mean, it seems very complicated.
But I don't know, he said that St. Hudson's, I mean, they're gonna need an easement between the property.
Yeah, but theirs has nothing to do. with it.
Right, I mean, not just
They're
they're
going
gonna
there
need
and work and go to those transformers.
Because that's what you're gonna need a work easement between individual properties where the utilities are on the ground.
Yeah, but they just do a separate thing on their end. They won't have anything very on.
Yeah, but this power crosses from 2 to 3. To get the power to the 3rd house, it starts in 2. So is there an easement required over that line?
Typically, when Joanne's usually who I deal with, she's the one that handles this a lot of times now, there will be an easement done up for each section of that. On each individual lot that crosses.
So how do we get them on the plat?
She doesn't, they just do their own, that's it, we have no barrier or anything with that. Necessary,
It just goes in the deep end.
necessary, I have to actually physically get an engineer to draw it on there and put me some points from the boundary lines. For necessary.
That's what I would think.
But not Central Hudson, you know, they don't do that.
Yeah.
Hang it somewhere down the road. So I'll be able to fix something.
Right.
Feed this property.
Basically, that's usually what legal does, the lawyers or whoever draws that up.
As well as that, everybody does have frontage down, so if they needed to put another line in the
Yeah,
future,
no, I get that.
everybody has the ability to do that. It's not like there is a lot sitting in the back that has no
Yeah,
frontage.
nothing's land.
Everybody here has their own frontage, everybody has their own ability to get back to the road without having to ask a neighbor, but the electric, we're planning on putting the electric in with the driveway, and it will all be in place, prior to anything changing hands. So,
Then we'll
I don't
actually
think
know
there'll be any issues with it
exactly where the
whatsoever.
trenches are.
Yeah.
And that would probably make it a lot easier to add a note to, maybe turn that from a driveway maintenance agreement to a driveway and underground utility. And add it in there, then we know exactly where the trenches are to give everybody the easement, exactly where the power runs.
What is it for?
I see no issues with it.
No, I think they gotta get another map.
Yeah.
But I won't be willing to guarantee we don't find something next month when they add to this map. I think we can guarantee that.
well, I think that's kind of where we're looking at, because last month you
Yeah.
asked for four things.
But in reality, we're
And we
looking
gave
at.
you the four things, and so we're kind of looking for
Trying to think everything
a,
we can possibly think of.
Right.
But
it's, I mean,
And so
it's a
we're trying
pretty,
to get it pinned down
but it's a pretty,
tonight.
yeah, it's a pretty simple 3-lot subdivision where everybody has frontage and there is just a shared driveway, because I'd rather not build 3 separate driveways there. I think it's a better solution. So as far as any easements or stuff, that will all be taken care of without a problem.
Right,
And
what
there is-
we would need then is the driveway needs to mount,
Yep,
plot the electric on,
you want the third transformer.
right? And then also give us a large scale drainage and grading plan.
Okay, just the top sheet, or do you need all
No,
the
give-
back sheets
Give,
too?
give it all of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the building inspector's gonna want it.
You need to look at it.
Yeah.
So, big maps, transformer, meets and bounds.
Electric.
This is not considered a sweat. Grading and drainage.
No.
Well, we're not giving them a construction approval. That's
Right.
why it's so
No.
confusing.
You know, the only thing that's in here is the driveway. There's,
Yeah.
We're giving them a subdivision approval. They gotta come back with a site plan.
For all 3
I
houses.
just wish we were doing it all at one time because of how complicated it is.
yeah,
We're not giving them any construction, right? It's
No.
A subdivision.
subdivision. So we good with, closing the public hearing, conditional approval, pending everything we're looking for, when it's gonna.
I don't think we need to close the public hearing because we see.
What's
Yeah,
that?
did everybody, is there anybody out there?
Is there anybody there for the?
Yeah, I'm saying, I wanna make sure we're on board first. Mike, you have anybody with any questions?
There's nobody.
Okay.
They should get into the building department 2 weeks before if you can.
I'm sorry, that what?
Yeah.
I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
no, get it to John, Jay before this.
Yeah.
The sooner you get.
Well, this literally landed in
No,
my
no,
email
today.
today.
I know.
It's trying to get things done.
Yeah. Everyone has COVID.
Everybody's sick.
No one's working in their offices.
We all are together.
Yeah.
Having, motion for, exec,
Motion.
motion made, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I will hold the public hearing open for this month, motion for conditional approval,
Motion.
motion made, second. Opposed? Carried.
Yeah, farmer's vote?
Mom, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
You good with that?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And for the record, Jimmy was at the entire last meeting on Zoom and nobody would let me speak or talk to her. I text her, I said.
I got it when I got home.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay, would you send the driveway agreement to John Lyon?
The driveway maintenance.
Yeah, just let John look at it. Yeah,
And we will see you in a month. Chatham.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along. Don Doctor.
He's not here, but I'll fill in for any questions.
All right.
That's a little guy right
That's I can hope for, but I can't certainly do that.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Site plan review, special use permit. Did everyone get a copy of the last? Yeah. I guess nothing's changed since then, right?
Nothing, same field, same everything. Same month, same month.
Everything's the same. I heard no complaints, no
Yeah.
problems with traffic. Been around every one.
Yeah.
Most of us have.
It's kind of inspector.
Huh?
They're even the inspector.
Yeah.
31 years, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we did this before, I thought it was good for 3 years, and so something changed.
No. It was approved for 3 years, you gotta do it every year.
Yeah, I thought we
Yeah,
changed
renew
it
it
every
every
Which
year.
is something we might want to consider.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to approve for 3 years, I'm okay with that, and so is Donnie, that's what he would like, because
Yeah.
nothing changes, we have the same auctioneer and everything like that, and the same amount of crowd, I mean, if not less, because face it, all the farmers closed.
I think we
People
did
were leaving.
1 year ago, in case we got any complaints, like, Jim,
Well-
we didn't get any.
Right, I mean, that was the same thing I think we had with a couple of venues where. Yeah, it did. Was it, we started out with like 1 year approvals to make sure we didn't get any complaints.
Right.
Yeah,
And then if we did, then we could revisit it for a longer period of time.
Planes would have gone into Ed.
Ed.
And so he did.
And it would go to Ed or certainly to Art or
We
something.
would have heard.
We're definitely, that's what I'd rather, we would have heard about it, about local.
I believe the initial approval was 3 years.
So I thought,
I sent that.
But-
here.
yeah, I read that.
Oh, you know what?
they gave us 1 year.
That, wait, wasn't that because of the change of venue, the location?
Yeah.
Move from doing the location.
I think that's why.
That's why.
Yeah.
Change the location.
So we had no problem with the change location.
For a 1 year permit, but now, since everything's been fine,
Yeah.
we'd like to
Jay, I think you're right.
propose to go to 3 year.
I see no issue with that.
No.
I don't either.
No, just let's pick it.
Yeah.
Jay, do we have to make sure this is accurate? There's a couple little things on here. It's not.
Shoot, what question do you have?
It's just that, well, that's.
Okay, so more than one EAF was prepared and sent to the planning board. So are you looking at the 2019? The date should be on page 1.
Signature.
I don't see a date.
Oh. If the packet were together.
So
Yeah,
do
well,
you have it there? I mean, I'm fine with this. It just to make sure, I wasn't sure how, if we need to be accurate, make sure it's okay. That the old one?
This is the new one.
This is the new one, okay. Did you know that? 2022. I wasn't sure, I mean, I don't have a problem with that, I just wasn't sure if we want to make sure that it is accurate, just for our records. or-
So I think we could have the applicant fill out another EAF, do you feel that it materially changes?
No, it's fine. Like I say, it's fine. It's just about record keeping. If we feel that we need to have it be accurate, that's all. It's not that they need to do more work.
So then that could be resolved with the conditional approval.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it makes much of a difference.
No,
We're voting
might as well
on
do
it
it
anyway.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's just about record keeping.
Any other questions? Okay, anyone can close the public hearing?
Motion to open.
We haven't opened it yet.
Anybody from the public have any questions?
Nothing on Zoom.
Okay,
Well, Dave, no
well, now the
question.
meeting's open, now we close it.
Motion to close.
Motion to
Close
close.
the close.
Made second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Motion for neg deck,
Motion.
made second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you, Palmer. And motion for conditional approval just based on the revised EAF. Motion made.
Same conditions as last.
No, we good with 3 years?
3 years.
3 years.
Okay.
3-year approval, okay?
Yeah, 3-year approval.
Okay,
So motion.
motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Okay. Good.
Saturday.
Yeah. Hanson. You got Hanson here?
Hi there.
Oh, there we go.
Hi, this is Christina Ducharme from KDA, the architect for Hanson's.
We have a hard copy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is the one we approved the driveway, you guys went up there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we approved the driveway already.
Okay, you're up.
Hi there. So we were in front of the board in the fall, a few months ago. And yes, you approved the driveway and construction on that has started. We roughed in the driveway before winter started. And we came back to you with this site plan to finalize the review of the house, which we've located actually a little bit closer to Simon's Road, which slightly decreased the total area of disturbance. We're still just under an acre, calculated out at 0.97 acres of disturbance. We looked more carefully at the area of trees that we wanted to clear between the house and the existing pond. And we reduced that clearance from what was proposed previously. So it's really just a smaller area right directly in front of the house. And we're proposing to return all of the mowed grass area between the house and the pond back into meadow. I think those are the major changes since you've last seen the site plan. And like I said, the driveway is roughed in, the turnouts are in, and we also installed a complete silt fence on the area between the house and the pond, which is noted on the site plan.
Looks good. What they've done so far looks good. Yes.
Make the log on down.
Yeah. They moved the house back closer to the road. So it's showing more traffic. The preview. Yeah.
That's one for orange.
Yeah, yeah, Aaron, you went over and looked that over.
Yeah, we walked the driveway.
Yeah, so they moved, it looks good what's been done so far.
Oh, I haven't seen it since then.
Yeah, you just put off the snow on it.
But they moved the house back towards the road a little closer.
Christina, did you say that the silt fence is already installed?
Yes, the silt fence was installed actually before we did any of the driveway work. It was one of the first things we did.
Seems awfully close to the pond and it's in the setback.
It's not, I don't think it's actually accurately portrayed where it is on the map. I apologize for that. It's actually closer to the house. You can go out there and see it. It's a black silt fence and it's all the way along that line there.
You're talking about the bottom of the grass area? The silt fence?
Yes, the silt fence, the silt fence is actually closer to the house than to the pond.
It should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why you have it.
Yeah, it's showing all the way down at the bottom of the grass area.
In the 100-foot buffer.
Yeah, right.
So hopefully it's.
But you're saying it's not within that 100-foot buffer, it's actually closer to the
No,
house?
it's not in that 100-foot buffer. It's closer to the house.
It should be up around the 530 line.
It's up around, I think it's actually closer to the 520 because it's outside of the trees. So it's not in the woodlands, but it's between 520 and 530.
Can you show it correctly?
Yeah, we can modify that.
Yeah, it looks good there. I didn't see it being washed out.
Any questions, Tom?
They did their ag statement, did they need an ag statement? Or did right here, you're here for the wetland.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing the question.
Jay, I'm waiting on Jay.
Electric service.
Oh, was the question electric service?
Yes.
The electrical is planned to follow the driveway.
I mean, I don't know what the deal is with crossing this existing electrical easement.
Telephone poles right down center of that field.
Yeah, I know. Is that where the power's coming from?
Yeah.
The electrical easement, there's poles that are shown there. And that's the electrical easement. There's poles that are across.
But you're coming in underground.
We are coming in underground off of those poles and then following the driveway. And what we're still working out with Central Hudson, which, you know, how they want us to come off of the pole. So that's not shown on this site plan. But we're hoping to work out with them the pole closest to the northern end of the property line.
The one that's off the property line?
Correct.
That would work best.
Yeah, it'd be better if you stayed on the other side of the.
That's it.
driveway.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, comments?
They'll stay within the reason. They'll stay within the reason.
Yeah.
That pole there, they want to like cross the property and then they're outside the reason.
But
You can't do that.
what's funny is the waterfall, Central Hudson already has that done, and that pole went there, and they don't even have to ask.
You can come just
Yeah. You got a pole horizon. Horizon on that pole.
Yeah, good, I
Yeah, copy one.
Yeah, they probably, hopefully they don't. So hopefully,
I'd say move the silt fence
Christina,
to
we're
the
ready,
proper
those big
location
trees saved.
and show the electrical service to the best of your ability.
Do you understand that?
We missed that.
Can you repeat the question?
The changes should move the silt fence to where it
Actually is.
Sure.
and show what you think is gonna be the electric service, at least so it's on a map. Like, if you're coming down with the pole, it's just off the property, that's fine, yes.
Well, she won't have any chance, that'll be Central Hudson, I'll tell her, to be there. We have-
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. We've had an application in with Central Hudson for quite some time, actually, prior to our, previous, when we previously submitted to you guys. So we're just waiting to hear where they want, how they want us to come off of their polls. So is that something that we could handle with a condition of approval?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Good question.
I was just wondering when that driveway went in, when we were looking at it, when we were on site, there were some very large, significant trees. Were they able to be saved?
Yeah, they definitely want to save trees. They want to be sensitive to, to the land. And, when we last submitted, we hadn't yet completely staked out the exact footprint of the house. So we did that very carefully, sort of considered the views where, where different views were in relation to the windows in the house, and ended up reducing the amount of trees to be removed.
Sorry. Okay, looking for an desk.
Motion.
Made, second. Favor? Opposed? Carried. Motion for additional approval pending the relocation of the silt fence on the map. Motion made second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. So you can get that prize and get into Jay and then, I'll sign it.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now remember. Anyone out there on Zoom?
Nope.
No? Nothing there?
No, I don't see anyone.
Okay.
So can we just move to?
Yeah, okay. Bigger. Good evening. Looking for, final approval for my site plan for property on 33, or it's 3302, State Route 82. It was in front of the board, October, I'm not sure when it was approved by the board in October. Septic was approved by the Board of Health on October 7th. It didn't come to my attention until I went to get the building permit that it had to come in front of you guys for final approval, so that's why I'm here tonight.
This is one.
One property. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, got another one? Should have been 5 maps total.
I don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is in here.
Got the wrong name on the plan.
Well, yeah, I mean, what he wasn't aware of the fact that, first he had to come here and he can't get any professionals out. And he's already sold his house. I have until the end of April to get my house, be out of my residence I'm in now. So I'm on a tight timeline. If I was aware of this, if it was brought to my attention after you guys approved it, I would have more than happily had that taken care of.
Here's an abbreviated site plan review for the zero bar.
Right. Yeah, everything else was good, except it's within
The bar.
500 feet of the Miller-Hurst partnership, which I just happened to buy the land from.
Which is funny, because that was far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, part of the field was,
Yeah.
and I had still planned to let them farm, 5 acres of the property.
So we already had perk tests on this.
Right.
Yeah, it's
We have
long.
the Board of Health, yeah.
Yeah,
Do
everything
you have
was,
any plans for the house?
the house is on there, it's,
No, it's just a drawn thing. Do you have anything to show us with the house?
what do you mean, the specs of the house?
Yeah.
This is gonna be what the house is. I wasn't told I needed this, or I would have printed it out. It's a manufactured home, it's gonna be installed by Independent Homes, from Hoosick Falls. The dimensions on the house is 56 by 26.8 roughly. It was approved for 3-bedroom, 2-bath residence, which that falls within that approval.
There's a little plan.
Yeah.
Ed, accept this for permit? Is this acceptable to him for permit?
What's that?
This.
And it said, once you guys approve it, then I can receive it from that. This is what the house is, sir, if you want to see it.
No garage?
So I don't want to speak to the nature of this review. So
But
I don't know what this process will be and what documents we will.
I think that at some point, if the board's inclined to approve this, I think you're obviously gonna have to get an updated site plan with the house and everything located on it. You know, because this is a professional plan.
Okay,
You know,
that's what I was told to do, so that is why
what if you just cut out everything out?
which I-
Laid out, but
which I do have that, unfortunately.
basically, you don't, it's a prohibited section, we don't know how.
no, we don't, yeah.
And, so
So
it's
the
just
surveyor
accurate.
doesn't sign this anyway, surveyors don't do.
No.
Measure things.
So you have a delivery date?
Leslie does.
I don't have the delivery date only because
Leslie's cited all
I,
that.
when I went to get the permit, this is when this was brought to my
So
attention.
they're not gonna put you on that schedule till you have a
Exactly.
permit in your hand?
So I was hoping to do this, to have them installing the house by mid-March. So that's why I'm kind of, you know.
Yeah.
You've got a foundation or you?
It's gonna be a slab, correct. So I can't even install the slab until I have the building permit.
You're putting a modular on a slab?
A double wide, manufactured home. It's a double wide, a manufactured home.
Not a modular.
No. So unfortunately, well, that doesn't have the house on it, but that's where it was approved for the Board of Health, and that's where exactly where the septic is gonna be.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Do you have one of these surveys without seal on
Or scissors.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a vote.
He takes a blank one. Show
it?
them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have this one. if you want to show what you have. Yeah, so if you want to show them.
I mean, it's just the feel. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just-
Up there.
I know.
Let's go to this next one.
I think we can.
Probably should be screened for all of the
Conditions are
Yeah,
all
so what if we do this? What if we initial approval, have them go once they start this taking off and have this taken off?
Okay with me.
Now, can I just take that and have that taken off that Staples?
I really need to go to Leslie. Get his.
Unfortunately, the problem with Wesley is he's unobtainable, pardon me, right now. And, you know, I'm really,
I understand your problem. Just understand, this is breaking the law.
okay, I was not aware of that.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
It can't go in our file this way because it's against the state education.
Yep, and I have no problem taking
And
that
I
off.
understand you didn't understand that.
Okay,
Can we
This
just
is,
cut
we're
it
not,
out? I mean.
he
if you
needs
take-
to ask Wesley if he can use his drawing.
well, they're my maps. They
No,
were
they're
paid
not your
for.
maps. They're not your maps. You own the paper. You don't own the rights to the drawing.
Okay,
Please understand that.
You paid him for those You pay him for those prints?
These were paid for the survey by Jim, correct?
Correct.
And they were given to me by Jim.
And the purpose of this was a subdivision and for us to approve.
Yes, for a
They weren't for-
3-bedroom, 2-bath residence.
Right, but they
Okay.
weren't the site plan. So if you read the note right here, it tells you that you're not supposed to do what you did.
Okay, I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but I was told to do that, so I apologize.
So we're trying to get you an approval.
Yes, sir.
Get a proper document put in the file.
Yes, sir. Yep, I will do that.
You know, I understand you can't get a hold of Leslie, but you gotta get a hold of Leslie if you wanna use it.
Just have him make you a copy without this #1 note and without a seal on it.
Okay. So 1 copy is sufficient, or should I have him
To the
do?
building department, for anyone.
I'm confused here. What if Wesley says I don't mind him using that?
Then he has to take the note.
Which no?
The one that says any unauthorized alteration or addition.
Yeah, which I have no problem doing that, I can take the note off.
He has to take the note.
Okay,
It's just, it has to do with intellectual property and that's the service.
Okay.
Just trying to keep you out of trouble.
okay,
So you gotta find Leslie, you can use this, I would get the blank one, redraw this as clear as you can, and then get it to the.
And so if I can get a hold of Wesley and just take that to him, and if he takes that off and copies that map for me, you're okay with that? Okay, I will do that.
Is that gonna take him another month?
No, we'll give him conditional approval, and once we get this back,
Yeah.
I'll get it to Jay and,
get it to Jay, and then we'll go.
Yes, so that. if
Once
we're
Jay's got
filing-
it, then Eddie can.
Yes, we're filing the
and
correct.
he'll notify you, yep, okay.
As simple as we can.
Okay, that's fine, I don't have a
In
problem
all
with that.
reality, this is just from past, we may even be able to take a picture of this, send it to Wesley, do the rough measurements on it. He can do this off of this area. on his computer.
Okay.
And do these. Yeah.
Yeah, if he's willing to do it, even better yet, it'd be easier.
Yeah.
If he's willing to do it.
Okay, motion for the next deck,
Motion.
motion made second,
Second,
all in favor,
I
opposed, carried, motion for conditional approval,
motion.
made second,
Second.
all in favor,
Aye.
carried. That's it, let's go ahead, answers, I mean, now the numbers are back on.
I'm all set.
Thank you. Bye, Dick.
Yeah, sure. Do a rough sketch.
Jay, you got anything else? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I did receive an email from Brad. Unfortunately, we had a Wi-Fi problem and were unable to log on despite our best efforts. So sorry, can we get on the schedule for next month? We hope we didn't inconvenience anyone. Thanks, Brad. Yes,
Okay.
All right, no
Can
problem.
we look at those, that's the one that's not here?
Yeah.
Can we look at those drawings, because there's
Yeah.
some comments, maybe he can correct them.
Oh, next month,
There's a lot of issues that
and I do have some additional housekeeping items as well after.
Okay. I just looked it up.
What are we looking at here?
Yeah. I looked at it.
Oh, this is the one that.
We need a, did they do their ag data statement? So then that means it does not have to go on the plan, because I thought it was supposed to be on the site plan.
This is curve. Oh, that's the curve.
This is.
It should be, yeah, I thought our book says that it should be on the site plan.
Which is smart.
I
Yeah.
Not twice that. Not twice this.
I have a scale. I have a scale to measure.
You want to do scale.
Say that again?
You don't have to do the, you have to double it up. SDS. Oh, yeah, they didn't show the leach field or the well.
That's 400 there. Could be.
Yeah.
Let me say it again.
Yeah, what is this scale?
All right, so Jay, I think we're not gonna be for next month. We got to show the well, septic.
Health department letter.
Yeah,
Driveway needs to be 12 feet, not 10. And their area disturbance is just, I don't know what the right word to use to describe it.
What?
Inaccurate.
I did start to catch that at the last meeting.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta have overcut on a driveway.
Yeah.
At least 5 feet each side, and overcut at least.
And
20
the set, and the
House,
leach field.
septic, garage, this is quite a distance.
They didn't even.
What's the footage on the ground?
556 feet.
Right.
It's deceiving because that looks like 300, but it's not right.
So they are gonna be over a meter.
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
Something's not
They should
working.
recalculate it.
Okay, so recalculate and then give them a heads up if they are.
Yes, 'cause the
There's
whole-
gotta be overcut, you know, a driveway, and even if you're not regrading, you're gonna have 5 feet on each side, maybe more, depending.
So their footage.
You know, a house, you gotta go 20 feet around it, you know, 5 foot overcut for the excavation, you got room for the
Yeah,
equipment.
plus disturbed area. Yeah, we know all he's doing is taking the footprint of the house.
Right.
Yeah, you got a box around the house,
Yeah.
saying that's the disturbance.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's hilly there. It's hilly. And road Jan killed right above the hill.
Yeah. Disturbance is disturbance. You mess
Yeah,
with
so let them know and then we can
Yeah.
go for next month.
Well, most times, like I said, we do these all the time, we go in and do that rough driveway and put the big stone down. Now that's done and completed before we get to the other, we do the stages.
Yeah. You do something and have somebody else write do something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well,
Cause you want your driveway electric, the first thing you want to get it.
All right, anything else? Okay.
Yes, okay. Planning board meetings are okay for the first Thursday of each month, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
We should discuss the deputy vice chair position.
Yeah. Anyone have any nominations for vice chair? It's up to you.
What about oh, you're not doing it anymore? I thought you were.
Yeah, we wasn't officially, never officially.
Oh, well, let's make them official.
Yeah, just as Aaron has, it's on like 3 different committees, right?
All right, so we've got a motion for Joe.
Motion for Joe.
Second.
Joe it is.
That was close.
All right, so what else you got?
Okay, couple more things. I will mention again that the schedule is getting pretty long. You may want to consider 2 meetings a month or workshop meetings on some of the longer applications. There has been ongoing correspondence regarding consultants' reviews. I think most people feel that it does benefit the board. However, there's some like disagreement on which projects, if not all projects, should receive consultant review. So if you guys could just like send me your personal opinions so that I can turn around and make that case to others regarding consultants reviews, that would be helpful. You also saw the correspondence regarding the zoning laws and print versus electronic. I will reserve a print copy for each planning board member, zoning board member, CAC member. And if you pick them up, you pick them up. If you don't pick them up, you don't pick them up. They can be sold or used in the office. I get a copy, Ed gets a copy as well. With all that being said, what is everybody's preference for how documents are transmitted to you? A lot of these maps were out in the small conference room for a period and were not picked up. So would you prefer to make an appointment with me? Would you prefer that they're left? Or is electronic conveyance more important?
My feeling is when someone differs is get them electronically, but leave the large copies in the conference room. So at least if someone wants to come in and look at them.
Well, at least have them here. I mean, most all of us could take this print
Yeah.
through this tonight, right?
Yeah, I mean, I
As
stopped
long as I
in.
have it electronic, I can see it before.
I stop in every Saturday and then whatever else. So I mean, I'll look at it electronically, but I'll just go in there or go in the office.
I like having the paper, I like both. I do like.
Oh, which is fine, if you're gonna leave them out, then.
Yeah, because I came and picked up mine, I tried.
Do you have another question?
I just need to grab that paper from the house things so I can give that to anyone.
Oh,
This was my copy.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Okay, thank you.
Let me give my opinion. I think we should have a Dropbox system for drawings by the month. And everything goes in the Dropbox, not in an email, because they get scrambled all over the place. And you gotta go back to them, you gotta go search. Yeah, we start a Dropbox and you do it by the month. These are the applications for January, these are the applications for February. You can go back to the January, you can print them. We should get everything electronically. It should be a requirement going forward that everything is a PDF.
So we get it all together. Because now, like I have all my emails that go to the office part. So I get emails from him when he sends them out, but in between that, I may have 30
Yes,
to 100.
it is.
And then I got, and lucky for me, she goes through and puts them in.
I have
Into the
And
file.
sets the file for me. Yeah.
there's so many different threads all of a sudden going on.
It's different applications.
Right, and then we're getting stuff late just before meetings and that's hard. I know,
My-
I missed that whole
Shouldn't there be
resolution.
some kind of a cutoff?
There is.
Well, there is, but like this thing with Steamberger, I mean.
Oh, yeah, that's been going on.
That's
Right,
been going on, but not only that,
Yeah.
the attorney got back to John Lyons, and then he had to revise his memos. And this has been, for the last 2 weeks, it's been on Bill daily.
I think we've always done really well picking and choosing when we need the outside experts.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know sometimes, and maybe we don't all agree perfectly, but we get a feel and all of us like, yeah, we're okay without it. Or soon, we know, like, when we got hit with the Einstein, we knew we needed some help. Obviously, right? So I don't think we need to set to where everything we need to.
Well, when we get the application that we review and we vote on that. When we get it.
I think if someone's got a feeling that we may need the assistance of, our experts, then we can make that decision collectively.
Yeah, we vote on it, we can vote
I
on
think,
it.
which we've done, we
Should
believe
probably-
all along, we agree.
It should probably be a little bit more clear than that, because if experts are required, escrows should be
Right,
collected.
but I think my feeling is that any of these things that are require our consultants are not 1, 2 month meetings. They're gonna be a lot more difficult than just saying, okay, we're gonna have a public hearing next month and approve. These are gonna be rather complicated applications, and if we can tell the applicant after our first meeting, okay, we're gonna need our consultants on this, and we need escrow account for X, or whatever.
Yeah, usually you figure, you know that about schedule, that's schedule.
Yeah.
You.
But I mean, my feeling is, if we say, well, every applicant should have, an escrow account, how do you think, that's kind of, this one we just had, I mean.
How you can escrow that guy? Exactly, he's struggling just to.
What helps you in your dealing with things to get them to us when you're on the front line?
Do you want to ask the technology committee?
Well, I actually want to get authorization to contact the technology committee regarding Dropbox, so can we do that
Oh,
first?
absolutely.
Yes.
You were saying?
That's just what I was just saying, do you want to talk to the technology?
I think I'd like to know from Nan what she charged to do a cursory review on a basic project. Not an escrow fund, is it $250?
What does, so like on,
Well,
I think it should be
should,
site plan review?
yeah, I think it should be an application fee that covers her cursory review. Because how many times have we sat here and tried to figure out what we're trying to approve and what are we looking for? I don't think that should be our job during the meeting. It just makes the meeting longer. I mean, if she charged $250 say, to do a cursory review, say you need this, this, and this from this applicant, that's part of the application fee. It's paid up front. And it takes, there's no, and we know what we're dealing with. Is it a special use permit? Is it site plan approval? Does it need this variance? I mean, I think we should have that assistance. And it should be paid for by the applicant.
I agree.
Okay,
And
so
I just want to
But
say
you gotta
that,
find out
that-
if she can do it and how much is she gonna charge.
and I'd just like to say too, I think other than helping us, that also if it kind of screens things that don't have an application ready yet, that we're not approving, looking at all these meetings that are full finished applications.
Well, it'll expedite the length of the meeting because we won't have to sit here and try to go through the code and find out what requirements, and that should be our job at the meeting. And I don't think, if she can't do it, then maybe we gotta find somebody that can do it, somebody that can review the drawing
For a reasonable.
reasonable amount, but it should be part of the app. We just have the town board establish this fee, and that's what it is.
Well, that was one thing that we had looked at, and just recently, Jay and I were talking a lot about it, and the possibility of coming up with additional fee, on an application. Then it begs the question, okay, which applications you gonna do it on, and which ones aren't you?
It should be,
Just on one board.
it should be one fee for a subdivision, maybe, and another fee for amended site plan approval, fee for special use permit. But we gotta know, I mean, if she's gonna say it's $1,000, and,
Okay, so.
It's not something,
But if she spent an hour, she could do a lot in an hour.
that's my
Her
feeling.
hourly fee, I don't know what it is, but it's.
Might be a
like
couple hundred,
couple of
$250, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, probably is.
But if it's a cursory,
Right.
I think
That would be
it'll help
great.
us.
That
move the
would be
meeting-
wonderful.
move the meetings along. I mean, it's done everywhere else.
Plus, all these things, not to be sort of like classist about it, but all these things you're looking at here are from people with means. Now, it's not sort of local, who's the exception.
No, and there I have no problem with that, my only concern is when we say every application, you get someone like this big here with a very simple, rule, and
we're
then you gotta hit it for $200.
Right.
That's my,
Is there a way to make a waiver or something, or that's just sort of we pick and choose?
I wouldn't want to do that.
Right, it's not fair.
I'll start a dialogue about it, and the fact that it's Nan, she probably has done this in other communities, so she'll know what works.
Yes.
Or she'll at least have her proposal on what works, based on her experience.
Maybe she has an assistant that can do it or something.
Town board will have to set the fee.
Yeah.
You know what, I think we should probably adjourn the meeting anyway.
Yeah.
All right,
But this, just so you guys know, this isn't a new discussion.
No.
We discussed this even when I was
Yeah.
on the planning
Yeah, we
board,
discussed it.
Yeah, that's true.
about, it should be part of the fee. And, so that you're not constantly having to set escrow and manage escrow. It should be, that cursory should be part of.
Yeah, and we did that like with the cell tower application
Yeah.
and Luigi and a lot of the other ones,
Yeah.
Because obviously we realized that had to be done, but. So.
There's still a need for an escrow when the project.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. It's something that's above and beyond, but I mean, as far as
We know the
building in that
basics, we
quick
can,
basic
I mean,
into your fee, I think it will help the planning board immensely.
Yes, what they're not, that we're getting.
I think at the time it was harder to get the approval for that because we didn't have the volume of things coming in, but now the volume is far exceeding.
yeah, COVID's changed the world.
Yeah, that's,
We haven't had a lot of short-term rentals.
We're gonna run into.
no, we had
So
that one
would-
quick spurt.
Would this review process start before Ed? Or
No,
just
No,
after
it would
Ed?
replace Ed.
After Ed?
No,
Do
we-
what?
Would replace it, I mean.
He would do
Sure.
zoning.
He would do his referral. to-
It should complement Ed, because Ed is also having technical questions on, and he's falling behind as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
It's
so,
just.
so it's sort of like the gatekeeper for everything here.
It would help everyone.
Yeah.
As a complete new guy who doesn't know anything, even I can see that this should never come before the board. Location of the well, septic and leach field to be determined, it's completely deficient, this should never be here.
Yeah.
Right, it's just.
Unfortunately, that's what the professionals are able to also submit because of backlogs on other professional services and DOH.
Yeah.
So it's just like, this process has gone from like a somewhat chaotic, organized process to just the 24-hour.
But it shouldn't back up here, is what I'm saying.
Right.
If all those problems are further upstream,
Yeah.
this should be the backup. Let them deal with the backup, not this board.
Yeah, if she decides it's not ready to come here, she can give them back the comments, address these issues and resubmit for next one.
I would like that.
I like it.
Yeah, that'll help you a
Whatever
lot
the fee is,
too.
the applicant pays for it, they can afford it,
Let's hope that's available, because
But she may have somebody, it's not her.
That's
she
the
has
thing,
to-
everybody is maxed out and
Right.
no help,
I know.
no hired help you can find anywhere.
Nope.
No trade. Every department I've talked to, whether it's a truck driver or the restaurant.
Yeah, we find material in the middle of a job, one of the materials, you can't get
You
stuff.
can't
all
get,
job.
you can't get, yeah, it's amazing.
Garage doors are impossible.
It's like before you was just, I spent thousands on just the crew.
okay, we're still on live TV.
Yeah, that's why I want to adjourn.
No,
Motion to adjourn,
motion.
Sec-
all in favor? Oh, got it.
like.
So this is,